Hello YouTube and welcome back. This is Nico and you're watching Dare to Game. Today I am going to be discussing Kingdom Come Deliverance. More specifically, I am going to be talking hopes and speculation regarding a possible story continuation and or sequel for Kingdom Come Deliverance. So sit back and enjoy while I break it down a little. So as far as the very first question, is Warhorse Studios going to release another game? I should say that the answer is fairly obvious. Given the success they had with this game, which was their very first game, I should say it is fair to assume that we can expect more from them in the future. I can't say for certain whether it will be tied directly to Kingdom Come Deliverance, or whether it will be set in an entirely new conflict in time, but I think it is safe to assume, given their interests and general wheelhouse, that it will be some sort of open-world, medieval, or at the very least historical RPG. Now, as far as this story arc is concerned, no matter what they have said so far, I do not think it is finished. I think that there are threads that have been left untouched, and the abrupt ending of the game, which came with very little resolution, has left us expecting closure in the future. Many fans are expecting a full-blown sequel. Many of us believe it is more likely and feasible to simply cover this in a large DLC. And there are those who believe that while the story may continue, it will no longer be Henry's story, but will pick up down the road at some point. So let's just jump into the first option, that being a whole new game, a sequel if you will. For this, I see the best way forward as a continuation of the existing game that picks up right where the first leaves off, and sees Henry and Hans Kapan finish their mission in the first act. Then, I believe the best route would be to have an expositional cutscene accompanying a time jump to July of 1419, which is the month and year when the infamous Hussite Wars started. This would be a perfect setting, seeing as Henry could very feasibly still be alive and even in fighting form, as would many of the other characters from the game. Since Henry is either a fictional or a historically inconsequential person, it would be very interesting to have a game set in this period where he could choose his own side. And we could spend the game doing one of two story arcs, depending on Henry's choice. This would allow Warhorse to do what they do best, and build a highly immersive, historically accurate world. But it would also increase the replayability of the game, and allow them to be a bit more creative with their storytelling. So that is how I think a sequel will, or at least should go. As for what I think is the most realistic, and maybe even best option, I present option 2. A large story expansion in the form of a giant DLC. For this I am picturing nothing short of a Blood and Wine sized DLC. You know, the last DLC from The Witcher 3. One that would add a whole new region or country to the map. Would have all new armor, horses, weapons, characters, and most importantly, a good, beefy 20-hour storyline. That would wrap Henry's story up in a bow, and end with him settling down with his sword and Teresa somewhere in Bohemia. This would take less time and resources than a full sequel, and would wrap up many of the existing story threads that have been left unfinished in the game. It would also leave the possibility of a full-blown sequel open, because it would position them perfectly to just start the next game with a brief summary of Henry's life leading up to the Hussite Wars, much like the intro of this game had a summary of Charles IV's life leading up to these events. In the end, I like this option the most because if they are telling the truth and no sequel is currently being planned, this would take the least amount of time, but would still allow them to deliver a satisfying conclusion to this story, without, God forbid, having to wait 10 years like an Elder Scrolls game. As far as the last option that I've seen floated out there, that being that the story will pick up somewhere down the road but will not be about Henry, I can see this working. Off the top of my head, the most obvious choice would be to have the new story to be centered around a new character and link it to the original by using Henry's sword. My idea here is that the new game could see a new protagonist either inheriting the sword or maybe taking it from, spoiler alert here, so story spoilers for this game, Sir Istvan Toth after defeating him in battle. While this is less preferable to me, I think this could lead to a very interesting tale while still nodding to the original, and perhaps having the new protagonist running into an older Henry down the line. You know, just food for thought. Lastly, of course, there is the possibility that Warhorse has no interest in this IP for future development, and that they want to move on to a whole different ball of wax. To this I say, I don't think it's likely, but worst case scenario, Hopefully, our salvation will come in the form of some talented modders. Hopefully, by the time Warhorse finally gets around to releasing official mod support for Kingdom Come Deliverance, there will still be modders interested in making some awesome mods for this game. For one thing, it's just perfect for some sweet Lord of the Rings mods, or even Game of Thrones. But on the other hand, if it turns out that Warhorse is actually done with this story, perhaps some talented modders will be able to deliver a conclusion for us to enjoy. So, those are my thoughts, hopes, and speculations regarding where the story goes from here. Hopefully, I am right, and they are just focusing on the current game for now, and don't want to rush things, but are in fact planning a sequel in the near future. I mean seriously, I want companies to understand that there is a middle ground between releasing a new game every year, like Ubisoft or Activision, and making fans wait a decade or more for the next installment, like Bethesda or Rockstar. Seriously. What's wrong with a 3 to 4 year gap between releases? But in any case, I would love to hear your thoughts. Why don't you let me know what you think the future holds in store for us when it comes to Kingdom Come Deliverance in the comments section below. Congratulations on making it to the end of the video. If you did, I can assume you liked the content, and hopefully you'll subscribe and turn on the notification bell. If you haven't already, check out these links I have on the screen to see me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. If you like my content and would like to support what I do here, there's a link to my Patreon account in the description, and a donation would be much appreciated. In any case, thanks for watching and have a nice day.